If you are into movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz, and with me today is...
Kim Shactman.
Kimmy, how are you today?
Good.
Good, all right. So, Kim, we are here today because we had you and Zero pick out your favorite movies for each other to watch. Mm-hmm. And he chose the 2001 animated film Spirited Away, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Me and Zero talked a little bit about Hayao Miyazaki in our review of Howl's Moving Castle. I'm pretty sure you have no idea who he is and who Studio Ghibli is until today. But
correct.
How familiar are you with Japanese anime?
I'm not familiar at all. I've never seen one until last night when I watched this film.
Really? So this is your first foray into that type of animation?
Yes.
No Akira, no Ghost in the Shell, nothing.
Nothing. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So that's not a surprise to me. Japanese anime has been popular since, I would say, well, not popular, but it gained a foothold in America in the late 80s when Akira came out and made decent box office, but it made a lot of word of mouth when it came out in art house theaters in the late 80s. And then films like Ghost in the Shell, and there's one other I keep forgetting about, but they also came out here in the States and they did very well. It wasn't until certain TV series started coming out in the 90s, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and stuff like that, where kids started really getting into anime. And then, as they grew up, they started getting to more adult fare. And that's the thing with Japanese animation that is very unique, is that with most countries, and especially in America, they gravitate the animated films to kids.
I was going to ask you that. I was like, is this a kid's movie? Or is this like... I mean, not this one, I guess this specifically, but for like Japanese anime, like some of them are, some of them aren't.
Most of them are not. Japanese anime actually is aired on prime time in Japan. Most of them are there for everybody to watch. So there are adult ones, there's kid ones, but there's a lot for everyone when it comes to Japanese anime. It is the most dominant form of entertainment in Japan. Like, Japan loves their animation.
And when did Japan start coming out with anime? Like, has it been like there forever? Like,
God, that's a good question. That would be something Zero would know, but
I'll have to ask Zero. I'm curious now, because obviously, like you said, in the States it was like the 80s pretty much.
Oh, you mean like when it became popular in like movie theaters?
Yeah.
A long time. Like, I think it's been there for a long time, but I think Zero would know exactly when. But there are Japanese animes from like the 60s and 70s that were incredibly popular. Lupin the Third is probably one of the more popular ones. But they have been, like, the adults in Japan have been used to watching these animated movies for a long time. So it's not weird for them to either go out on a date or to watch an animated movie on their own and not be weird. Whereas in America, if I were to tell somebody, oh yeah, I'm watching this animated feature by myself when I get home tonight, they're gonna think I'm some sort of weirdo. So, or
like a nerd.
Yeah, weirdo.
Like, it's almost like we were talking earlier, like a niche, like in the States, like a following, right? Like there's like a group of people that follow this.
Yes, absolutely. With your question regarding Spirited Away, is you're asking if this is an adult movie?
Yeah, like I almost felt like it could be geared to both, but not too young of a child.
Miyazaki, to me at least, I think what Miyazaki does, I don't know if this is true, but I think Miyazaki makes a movie that adults will like, but then puts enough in it where kids will get interested in it. When he does his films, he goes for the adults first. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out it's the opposite, but he's just so good at what he does that it just turns into something for everybody.
That's cool. Yeah, like I was reading online, like, what age should be watching this movie, and people are like, probably like 11 and older.
My take on that is I think people see the scenes with blood in it, and they think...
yeah, like there's some scary parts. Like,
right. But I also think most kids over the age of 8 can handle that. I think they can at that point.
It's not too graphic, though.
No,
it's not terrible. Yeah.
It's not, but that's up to the parent. Like,
of course.
I would put it this way, okay? That movie's rated PG-13.
Spirited Away?
Yes, it's a PG-13 movie.
I thought it was PG.
It went into the theaters PG-13, I think. Let me just double check.
It says PG on IMDb.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I could have sworn
because that was like one of the
PG-13.
first things I looked at. I was like, is this PG or PG-13?
You're right, it's PG. To me, like, but the rating. To be fair, I don't think the ratings are the greatest thing to say what is good for kids or not. Because
Right.
PG can be one thing and another. Anyway.
Yeah, they're not always like super accurate.
If you're okay with your kid watching slapstick of violence or a little violent with guns or anything, and because there's no blood, it's fine. I really think they can handle this with a little bit of blood.
Like I wouldn't put this in front of a toddler, but like if you like, I was thinking like, you know, my nephews are like 8 and 9. I was like, and I was watching this, I'm like, they could handle this no problem. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it would be an issue.
So the only reason why I wouldn't put this in front of a toddler is because of not the blood, but the weirdness of some of the imagery. Unless they
Right.
are really into like, ooh, that's pretty. Like,
And some of the characters are like really big and bold, and I feel like it would like freak them out.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But I find it funny that we're having this conversation about if kids should watch it, but to me, this is a movie that I think more adults champion than anything. This is like a prime
Which makes sense.
Yeah, which is like a prime example of when someone says, "Oh, like the adults watch cartoons." I'm like, you need to see Spirit Away. You'll understand why. But
Right.
okay, you want to get right into the review?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, we're gonna get into the review of Spirit Away, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. Okay, so. I'll just get right into what my feelings of this.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this and why you love it, because I feel like I may be able to take some of that away and understand better on, you know, why the film is the way it is.
Okay, so I've seen this movie about 7 times. And
Wow.
Yeah, whew, oh my.
That's a lot.
I've seen it, the English translation 5 times, and I've seen the Japanese subtitles twice. And
Okay, so I started watching it with the subtitles to shut it off, and I put the English dub on, and I was like, much better.
I will say this. I actually, and this is one of the very few times where I actually prefer watching the English dub than watching the subtitles.
I'm surprised, because I know you don't mind subtitles.
I prefer it in most movies, actually.
Yeah.
But this is one of the few movies where I'm like, how they dub the movie is actually really good. Because when it went to theaters and they released it originally in 2001, it was dubbed. They had no faith in it making money if it was a subtitled movie. So they released it that way. And that's how I first watched it. And that's how I watched it the first few times. Okay, my feelings of the movie. It's a fantastic movie. I love this movie. To me, I think I gave you my 100 favorite movies.
Yeah, it was in like, what, the top 5?
It's number 5. Yeah, it is an amazing movie to watch. I love the boldness of the colors, and the animation is flawless in this movie. It is absolutely fluid, and it looks great, and just the amount of detail in this movie that you get to watch when you're in the bathhouse sequences is amazing. It is unbelievable to watch, and when you learn about what detail and what they had to do to make that happen, and the vast majority of the movie is hand drawn. Like when I first watched it,
okay, because I was gonna ask you, like, because like I agree, like I think the colors are gorgeous. I think the animation itself is good, like it flows really well, like everything is just very detailed. But like now I'm curious, like, because I didn't really have a chance to like really read deep into how it was created. So it was all hand drawn?
It was the vast majority of it was hand drawn. So this is considered a hand drawn animated movie, but there are certain sequences in the movie that had to be aided with computer animation. The one key example that I tell people about, the one that needed computer animation, remember the scene where Haku and Chichiro are going through the flowers into a certain section of the bathhouse? And they had to go through the flower bushes, and the animation was them going through the flower bushes, and the flower bushes are circling them as they're walking around. That's computer animated. And that's the only way they could have done that at the time.
But you wouldn't really notice, like you wouldn't think it is.
No,
like, I wouldn't know that.
It's blended really well. Like,
right.
But for the vast majority of the movie, it's hand animated. Like it's
Wow.
utterly gorgeous to watch. The technical stuff, yes, I love the way it looks. I love the music in it. It's just technically.
The music is excellent.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Very well done.
But what makes me adore this movie is Chichiro, the main character. And it's one of the few movies that I watch where becoming a young woman isn't anything to do with their looks or feeling attractive or feeling like they're growing into them. Like, you know, the standard thing with growing up when you're a woman in movies is basically the standard...
Like physical?
Yes. Finding your growing breasts. Men are attracted to you and looking at you in a weird way. It's not... And that... Thank God this movie doesn't do that. This movie is about the maturation of a young girl who started off as being, to be fair, a spoiled brat, to then turning into a self-confident, self-reliant, but very self-assured young lady.
Like independent.
Yes. And the film does it really well without it being very direct with it. It's a subtle transformation of the character for when the end happens. And most people, when they watch it for the first time, they don't catch it until someone points out that, you know, the big thing about this movie is that the main character goes from being a lion brat to someone who can stand on her own 2 feet. And I
did catch it. I did understand that, and like throughout the whole thing, because I mean, the beginning she like wouldn't leave her parents' side, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then, you know, at the end she's, you know, oh, we're gonna go to your new house and your new school, and it's like, okay, I'm not scared. Right? Yeah. Like, they kind of like that, but then like as she transforms throughout the movie, you can kind of pick up on it too, but like you said, they do a really good job of not making it like overly obvious.
And then the other thing that this movie does really well, and Miyazaki does this really well in other movies. He had another movie in the 80s called My Neighbor Totoro that did this really well with younger girls. But Chichiro is not like an amazing hero-like person who does amazing things. She's a girl. She's
just a regular kid.
Right. She's not doing amazing stuff that kids really shouldn't be able to do. She's
super scared. Like,
yes.
She's scared like most of the movie.
And she feels like a real person in this movie, like you can see someone who acts like a Chichiro in real life, right. And at no point do they betray that feeling of that character. They, even to the end of the movie, you still feel like this could be a real person, which is the problem with a lot of cartoon movies with young children, is that suddenly they start doing amazing things that most adults wouldn't do, like, because they would have the sense in them. But because it's a cartoon, it's like, it's for kids. But in this movie, that character is so well defined and made that she still feels real, but you believe in the transformation she has. And it just is blended in so well, this gorgeous animation, that I still get really emotional after I watch the movie now like an 8th time. It is expertly done, and I know people prefer Mononoke when they think of Ghibli and Miyazaki, but with me, Spirited Away is by far his masterpiece. It is an amazing movie. And it's a movie I wish I watched in the theater, to be completely honest.
Oh, you didn't get to see it in there.
I did not get to see it. This movie was in limited release when it came out in 2001, and it didn't reach my town at all. It did not get here.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I have to agree with you on all of those things.
Well, yeah.
Because it's like, it's obvious. And I know we'll kind of get into it, but I had a little bit of trouble following some of the storyline. Like, it was something that I did kind of have to Google after the fact to fully grasp the depth of the movie.
Okay.
I mean, I got it for the most part, but there were some things I was a little like wishy-washy on. Okay, so
let me ask you something. Were you able to understand the gist of the plot? Because the plot is...
Yeah, okay. For the most part, yes.
Okay. I'm getting the feeling that probably the things that you're confused by are, I guess, something to do with the spirits or how the bathhouse is run.
Spirits.
Okay.
Yeah, like, and some of the bathhouse scenes, like, I kind of got it, but there are some things I'm just unsure of.
I didn't fully grasp like the intangibles of the specific things in the movie my first few times watching it, but I still had no problem enjoying the movie. Like, and that's the thing with, I think, this film in particular. that I do like, and that kept me watching it again, is that, yes, there are certain things in the movie that you're just not going to understand because of the cultural differences between and Japanese directors and American society as they see their entertainment. But I think, and this is kind of, I'm using David Lynch as an example, but I don't think it fits very well. When I watch a David Lynch movie, I'm going in knowing I'm going to be fucking confused about a lot of shit. But the way that the film is done, and the way that the imagery is done, is so captivating that I'll want to know more. It's not a sense of, I am watching this and I have no fucking idea what's going on. But it's more like, I have no idea what's going on, but I want to. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's like how I felt, for sure.
Yeah, same here when I watched it the first few times. Okay, so what were you confused about?
So I guess like a couple of the spirits. So I think, what did they call it? The faceless spirit? Or
the no
nameless?
face.
No face, yes. So like I didn't fully grasp that character and like what their purpose was.
From what I've gathered through watching the films, I generally don't like to, especially with films I really like, I'm one of the few people who doesn't like to dive in more and find out, like, oh, what was the director thinking? What was he getting at? But No Face is generally a spirit that I think that Yubaba did not want to come in. If you remember in the beginning scenes of the movie, he was standing in the bridge and not going in. And he was also standing outside, not going in. But it was Chichiro who said, I'm going to leave the door open for you so you can come in, inviting him in. So once he was invited in, he went in. But I think...
And he, like, went crazy.
Yes.
It's like... He, like, turned into, like, a different type of spirit. But then and then after the fact, when he left, it's like he chilled out again. Like, I was like, what is this guy's deal? This spirit's deal?
It does feel like Yubaba knew what what No Face was, and deliberately tried to
like it was
keep
like
him
a
out.
test.
Right. If you also remember in the beginning of the film that Yubaba is bound to actually, when you ask her for a job, she has to give you one.
Yeah, it's a contract that she gives you, and she's required. Yeah.
I think that's how that world works. When you ask for something, or when something is given to you, you take it, essentially, is what happens. And I think that's kind of the thing with No Face as well. He's a weird one. He's not inherently an evil spirit. Like, you do recognize...
Like, Yubaba makes him out to be that towards, like, mid to end of the movie, though, right? Like, that's what I took it as.
Yeah. Well, I think Yubaba, she recognized that he is destructive and does not want him in there. But for example, like, she did not want the stink spirit in there, but they allowed them in anyway, just to test Chichiro in that aspect. Yeah, I mean...
And then they were praising Chichiro after the fact for cleaning him up.
Yeah. Oh man, that sequence itself with the stink spirit is a really well done animated sequence. Like that,
it's pretty cool. Like, I was like, what's gonna happen here? Like, and then is the main character gonna die? Like, what is happening?
And the way she reacted when the stink spirit came in, she smelled what it smelled like.
And her like face was just like her whole body, like all her hair was standing up on end. It was so funny.
Oh yeah,
it's like that's cute.
That's the other thing about watching this film multiple times that you just appreciate, is just how detailed everything is.
Yeah, that's what caught my eye for sure. Like I was like, wow. Like even like Yubaba's like face and like all the wrinkles and the lines and like the hair. Like I was like, wow. Like this is crazy.
And then Bo with how big he is and the detail in the face on the it is amazing. People that watch this movie, who are not into, I would say, more artistically inclined, or they don't like how slow the movie is.
I kind of felt that in the beginning of it.
Okay.
Like it was a little bit slower. I was just like, okay, come on. Like what's going to happen? Like, let's go. I want to see what's going to happen faster. But then I feel like it picked up middle of the movie, or maybe I was just so intrigued by it that I didn't notice after the fact.
I appreciate that it's a slower movie. Now, it's not like a snail's pace, but it...
No, I don't think it's a snail's pace either.
It builds. What the movie does...
Yeah, I think it does. Like, I have to agree with you there. It builds up. The plot kind of builds and builds and builds, and then...
It invokes a mood. It invokes a sense of place. Like, for example, I think in America, okay, if Disney did this, or DreamWorks did this movie. They would have cut this to about 90 minutes, and the movie would start with the parents being in the abandoned theme park area, or the abandoned restaurant area. And then they go through the sequence of turning into a pig, and the other things were like, Chichiro becoming transparent and stuff like that. I think they would cut a lot of that out and get into the bathhouse a lot quicker. But because they didn't, it was able to build a world more dynamically, and I think that the film is better for it. I think when it comes to slowness, and I'm talking about people who watch animated movies and they're thinking of Shrek, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, Frozen, stuff like that. They're thinking, oh, animated movies are for kids. They're like 85 to 90 minutes.
Right,
so
like they're quick to keep attention, yeah.
Right. But this movie gets to be slower and gets to be more deliberate with their stuff. Like, the sequence of Chichiro going to see... God, what's her name? What's Yubaba's sister's name?
Zaniba.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have it up on my screen.
Oh, no, that's great.
Because I'm like, I can't remember anything anymore. I'm too old.
I'm with you. So, Chichiro going to see Zaniba would have been a cutaway.
I love Zaniba.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's so nice.
But that sequence of Lynn carting her through the boat to the train tracks, okay,
yeah,
would have been cut. Her going into the train with no face would have been cut. It would have been a straight sequence of Lynn taking her to the track and then Chichiro being there. And that's it. You wouldn't get that intimate scene, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, of Chichiro and No Face sitting at the train just living. You wouldn't have that.
And well, also, too, like, I feel like it'd be harder for... How do you pronounce it? Is it Bo?
Bo.
It'd be harder for him to be on, I feel like, Chichiro's side because she took him. He was a mouse? He was like a mouse at that point.
Yeah.
But she took him on the train and, like, let him see some of the outside world. And, like, that made him just kind of like her more, you know?
And that is subtly done, too, because the film doesn't really linger on that. An American movie would. Bo would probably be a much more important character, but in this movie, it's kind of like a side, kind of weird character. But
like, I almost forgot he was the mouse. Like, I was like, oh yeah, that's the baby, the big baby.
Yeah. There is so much detail and so much little things in this movie that flesh out this entire world, which is what makes watching this movie again and again much more gratifying as the time comes. I adored this movie when I first saw it. I think when this came out, this was 2001, this might have been my number 2 or number 3 movie. I'm not entirely...
Like, at that time?
At the time, yeah. Now it's a clear number 1. It's my favorite of that year. But it just... Man, it was an amazing movie to watch for the first time. And this was my first Miyazaki and Ghibli film. So that's where I was like, oh my God, they'd make movies like this. Holy shit. Like,
well, you told me, you were like, oh, if you're going to watch, if you're going to watch any anime, like, your first movie should be Spirited Away.
Yes. Absolutely. It's also kind of not fair because you are watching one of the best right away.
So then I'll watch other ones and be like, oh, these suck.
This is not a good...
You set me up for failure.
It's not as good. Spirited Away is one of those movies that I think I could sit anybody down, and either with their adult or maybe they're in a teenager, and they will enjoy it in some aspect.
No, my husband didn't like it.
Wow.
Okay. He watched, like, a portion of it with me, and he's like, no, this isn't for me. I'm like, okay, like, you're not open-minded.
Oh, wow, you're turning into me.
I am! Oh, it's crazy. Oh, my God. Somebody pull me back.
Well, honey, you just don't...
Open-minded. I was like, it's pretty cool. Like, the animation and the color. The colors are gorgeous.
Oh, my God, yes.
Wow. Like, so, I guess my question for you, besides Chichiro, am I saying it right? I feel like I always pronounce it. Yeah. Who's your other, like, favorite character in the movie?
I want to say Haku, but he's not in it that much.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. Whenever I watch this movie, it's all about Chichiro. And
yeah, but I'm saying instead of Chichiro. I'm telling you,
But
not Chichiro.
I know, but I don't think of really anybody else in this
I
movie.
really like Kamaji.
Oh yeah.
I think he's so cool.
Yeah.
And he's so kind to her and like takes her in and like he has like so many arms. He's like a spider. What are those little things called that
the
do
soot
all
spirits? Yeah.
Yeah, I like those
cute.
guys too.
Those
Like
are
I was
cute.
like, oh, this is a cool scene. Like,
and that would be another scene that was cut. That was cut drastically.
yeah,
Because you
I feel
wouldn't
like
have.
it would be too. Yeah.
You wouldn't have the scene where the soot spirits realize that, oh, wait a minute, I can get out of this by just
I don't
pretending
have to
I
do this
crushed.
work. I have this little girl here. Like, I was like, this is so adorable. And
I
then,
know.
Like, I don't know. He like Kamaji kind of like takes care of her. Like, so I liked him as a character. Like, again, obviously Chichiro like steals the show, but
Yes, absolutely. But like, I would probably gear towards Haku, only because like, and that's the thing too. A lot of these characters, this movie, a lot of it is about who you have to be in the outside, but who you are on the inside. For example, when you first meet Lynn, she's kind of a bitch.
she's mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, you suck. Like, you're dumb. Like, I'm like,
But-
oh my god.
But as soon as there is a private moment, she's kind. She's
Right,
very
right.
sweet to Chichiro.
Right.
Same thing with Kamaji. Kamaji was like, I have nothing for you, leave me alone. But then when he opens up to love Chichiro in this. And he's more kind than he comes out to be. And I think that's also about Chichiro as well, is that they recognize she is a kind person. She is a good person.
Right.
And she's just in a bad situation. Whereas I think in most movies that are in America, they would make the child into a really insufferable brat. And then
Like,
something would happen.
overwhelmingly so.
Yeah. And something would happen where they would have to change. Like, oh, I need to be a good person now. But that's not what happens here. Chichiro is always a good person.
Right.
She's
scared.
Yes, absolutely. I guess I would say my next favorite character is Haku. Only because Haku shares a lot of the same plights that Chichiro has, but
Yeah.
Chichiro, he's been doing it a lot longer in this. But like I said, I'm really like searching, but like Chichiro is one of my favorite characters of all time from a film. Like, she is just so well done in this movie. And then the way that Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli creates her and has her live in this world, and the subtle things they do with her clothing and the animation adds to her character so much more. It is just an amazingly well-made character, both visually and on the page. It's breathtaking, with her character. Like, I love that character so much.
So, like, tell me more in depth about the bathhouse. Like, I get the premise of it where, like, she's in, like, the spirit world and, like, they have spirits that kind of come and go because they almost need, like, a break from reality. Like, is that the premise? Like, talk to me more about that because, like, I want to make sure I'm, like, fully understanding it.
This would be more something that Zero would probably know a lot more because it deals with a lot of Japanese folklore. My take on it is that spirits essentially are doing a job. They are spirits and they have these powers, but that's their job, essentially. And they come there to recharge. It's not like it's a business well, it kind of is. But it really is essentially that Yubaba is bound to do it, not that she wants to. Like, if you notice, when the bathhouse is not open, she's not there. She goes and does other things.
She's like a hawk or whatever.
Yeah, I think a crow, but
whatever
yeah.
she is, yeah, she flies away.
But because she's duty bound to operate the bathhouse, that's what she does. It is basically a place to... There's probably a deeper meaning to it, but it is essentially... The world is... that it's a necessary thing for these spirits to have it operated, and that's essentially why they're there. It's a great place to add all these interesting types of animated characters and these interesting looking spirits that it helps Chichiro understand that there are things that are more than skin deep, that when she watched everything, it looked fucking scary and it looked like really weird. But again, as the movie goes on, she grows, she gets more comfortable, she gets more into
more
her.
confident. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
You can definitely ascribe more depth to it if you want, but I've really never gotten into more depth with it. But I've known people like Zero who have and still love the movie as it is.
Oh yeah, definitely. I just was like, that's what I thought the whole like story and plot was about, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I'm like, am I reading this right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, am I understanding this but no, they did it really well.
We kind of already got into spoilers, but
That's all right.
no, it's all right. What more to talk about here? I mean, screenplay we went through, animation. Yeah, so you saw
writing, yes.
the writing. You saw the English dub.
Yes.
Okay. So
and it's funny, like every time I looked for the movie, it kept coming up with the subtitle version, and I'm like, no, I know this has an English version because I saw it online, and then finally I found it, and I'm like, oh, thank God, because like I'd started watching, and I'm like, I can't, because I was having a hard time focusing on the subtitles and the animation, because like I wanted to look in both places because it's so pretty looking.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, no, I have to listen to the English version. Right. It's just easier for me.
Max, where this is on, is terrible. When HBO Max was a thing, you would be able to say, oh, watch Spirited Away, and there's a little toggle that says, do you want to watch in English or in Japanese? And that's all you did. Max, unfortunately, has broken up both. Like, for some reason...
I was going to say, like, what the heck? Like, it took me forever to find it.
Yeah, it's really stupid. So you watched the English dub. I watched it in the Japanese subtitles. The Japanese subtitles are good, and they tell the story as well as I remember it from the English dub. Something did not feel right watching it in Japanese. I think the one thing that I got out of this was Lynn came off more harsh in the Japanese subtitle version than she does in the English translation.
Oh, really?
And the mother and father of Chichiro also came off a lot more stern.
Well, so in the English version, I felt like the mother and father were kind of mean. I was like, wow, like, but I mean, I don't know if that's like part of the Japanese culture. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know enough to know. Not that I'm saying like all parents are mean that are Japanese, but you know, like maybe that's just like they are with kids. I don't know. Like, but I was like, wow, father's kind of being a dick. Like, why are you being so mean to her? Like, she's just a little girl.
But I think he is being mean in a way that he's kind of ignoring her.
Well, yeah, like, and that's they're trying to show, like, her bratty side, I guess.
Yeah, her need for attention because her parents kind of treat her like, yeah, you're there. It's like,
right. Like, almost like they annoyed with her because they've been putting up with it for so long.
Yeah, essentially. But yeah, like that's...
I didn't catch it with Lynn though. Like I caught like a few moments where she seemed kind of, you know, nasty, but not in depth.
No, but like in the, but I will say like in the Japanese subs, she comes off like a lot more harsh. That's where I was like, It's like, is that the intention? I don't know. But this is one of the few movies that I would actually prefer to watch it dubbed. Because I just like how they did it. Like
they did a great job with the dubbing too. Like you wouldn't even really, like they don't skip a beat. Like I don't realize it's actually dubbed. I don't know if that's just because of my experience. Like I haven't watched too many dubbed movies, but
well, Disney also put money into this movie. They actually, the person who ran at the time, John Lasseter, he ran Pixar at the time. He championed this movie. He was like, "Oh my God, we need to release this in the theaters here." And since he had enough power in Disney at the time, because Pixar was making so many hits that they want to make John Lasseter happy, they're like, okay.
Like you were like nervous about it?
Yeah, they were. And Lasseter, if I recall correctly, Lasseter was able to convince them that they should put more money into the movie to make it more desirable for the U.S. audience. I think they did this. Someone will probably correct me, but I think Disney hired Ghibli again to then reanimate the mouths in the English dub to match the voices of the English actors, which is something they don't normally do.
Yeah, like usually they'll just like slap it together.
Yeah. Or what they do in most translations when it comes to dubbing Japanese or from a different country is that they have to make the dialogue succinct enough where the character is saying something and the mouth is moving. So, like, for example, there are some phrases that will take 2 words in like Japanese, but would take like 8 or 9 in English. But they would have to somehow truncate it enough to match the amount of time that the mouth is moving.
It must be so hard to do.
It can be. But in this movie, I think they allowed them enough money and budget for the release in the U.S. to then
tweak the animation to make it work.
And
yeah.
I think it is done really well in this one.
Really well. Like, I was like, wow. Like, because usually I can tell, like, you know, oh, this was done kind of shitty for the dubbing. Like, the mouths are still moving when the voice is not matching. But I really couldn't tell that really at all with this movie. So that made it enjoyable, too, you know. It just flowed really nicely. Yeah, I mean, I was, you know, there were some, you know, when you get into some of the bathhouse scenes, I was like, all right, this is a little, like, a lot of, like, you know, random characters and, you know, just shit that I probably would normally watch, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is very new for me. Like, again, because I've never seen Japanese anime ever in my entire life.
Right.
So it was a little bit of, like, maybe, like, a culture shock. I don't know. Like, I was just like, whoa, like, okay, like, these characters are kind of weird, but like I'm still enjoying it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm still getting it and understanding it, and like it's really cool to watch. So when you were having the culture shock issue, what roped you in? What kept you wanting to watch? I think it was just like the color and the tone of the movie, and I wanted to see what happened at the end. Like, is she gonna stay in that spirit world forever? Like, how's she gonna get out of here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or does she not want to get out of here? Or, you know, like, what about Haiku? Like, is he dead? Like, what's happening? Like, it just captured my attention of what's the next step in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, the color of it alone just like really kept me entertained. Like, I was like, wow, this is so cool to watch. But yeah, I think it was just like her journey. Like, okay, well, what's next for her? What does she have to do next to get to the next step and like save her parents? And again, I know we've kind of already ruined spoilers, but like how did she know that none of the pigs were her parents? Like, how did she know that? I
don't really know either, but
maybe she was like more in tuned with like what's around her and herself, because she's so like more self-aware and self-independent at that point in the movie. Like, I don't know. It was just interesting to me.
I think with the parents and the pigs, I think she just knew that it was going to be a trick. I think that might be
maybe. But she was so used to being tricked throughout the movie.
Yeah. When it comes to movies where I don't fully understand what's going on, okay? Like with Lynch movies, it happens all the time. I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening?
Right.
With movies like that, something has to grab my attention or it has to really interest me. And this movie, well, it didn't really, I don't think it confused me the first time I watched it, but it did make me curious as to what exactly is going on. Because the plot itself is not that deep, if we're being honest. But, like, it's not a complex plot. But it's just that the world surrounding it is so weird and foreign to someone like me and you.
Right.
That can come off as like really weird or off-putting. But in this movie, because of how it's animated and how the characters are, and mainly how well animated the movie is, that it's just visually appealing to just look at. And then in some circumstances, you want to know a little more what's going on.
And like you said, like the main character is awesome. Like,
oh my god,
she's so cool in this movie. Like, so I think that she carried me through it too.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, and that's what happened with me too. And as somebody who watches a lot of films and appreciates films and art, there are things that this movie does that most movies that are live action that consider themselves artistic don't attempt. And this movie does it with confidence. I really appreciate that, and it does it well. It's just, oh man, like I said, one of my favorite scenes is the train sequence, and barely anything happens. And the fact that they spent time expertly crafting that scene in animation, even though there's no action happening, and it's beautiful to look at, and it's well done, is just an amazing sequence to watch in that.
But even, like, the landscapes, too. Like, in it, like, they're so pretty, like...
Yeah.
Just really colorful and just... Almost like some parts of the movie are like more soothing than others. It makes you feel different things throughout the film.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like reading up to, and I didn't know, and I don't know if he does this with all of his films, but I read up that like he starts writing the film, and then he just starts like producing and directing it, but he doesn't finish writing it, and like he writes it as he goes along or something.
Yes, Miyazaki is kind of
I was
weird
like,
that way.
what?
Yes.
I was like, that's incredible.
But he is so gifted, and his studio is so well done that he gets away with it every time.
Wow.
Mhm.
Like, that's crazy. That's a lot of talent
Like
there.
Disney and other animated studios, they storyboard everything. The script has to be done.
like everything's completed ahead of time.
Yeah, but he invokes, I think, a mood or just a setting.
Yeah,
And
he's
then-
like, how's this gonna go? Okay, well, I feel like it needs to now go. He just is like doing it as he goes along, and it just works for him.
Yeah, and some writers are like that too. Like they'll come up with a scene, or they'll come up with a setting or something, and they'll say, "Okay, I really like this thing. How do I make this into a full story?" And they go from there.
Wow.
I did that with some stories I used to write, so it's definitely a style. But some like it more structured. It doesn't make them
Right.
better or worse. It's just how they work.
I guess I could just never. I don't think I could ever do something like that because I'm such a structured person. It just like kind of blew my mind. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's everything I have to say about
Okay.
this film.
Okay, so let's get into final thoughts. You do it first because you can already sense what mine is going to be. So go ahead.
So, being my first Japanese anime film,
I'm so jealous.
I did enjoy it. I did like the film. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Mostly because, again, like we have discussed, the color did it for me, as well as obviously the animation. And then finding out during this review that most of it was like hand drawn, that's crazy to me. Like it's incredible. So the colors, the music, some of the characters, like there's a smidge of humor here and there in it that was or not humor, but like kind of cutesy, which kind of makes me think of like gearing towards a little bit of kids. Like again, Kamaji was like my second favorite cat. Like I really liked him. He was cute. Yeah, I do like how the plot was to watch her grow, right? Like, and that's huge. Like like you said, you don't really come across a lot of animated or Disney or any type of movies of that sort. It's just more like, here I am, I'm a pretty character like Belle from Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid or whatever, and like everybody likes me because I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that, and I like that message, especially to like little girls, you know? Like it's important. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed it as my first Japanese anime. But now, like, I'm like, I don't know if I'll watch any others because if this one's the best, like, I don't know if I'll...
So,
I might, if you recommend some as we go through, but...
In the anime community, people do recognize that Spirited Away is an excellent movie, but there are debates to whether it's Miyazaki's best. I think Zero is more tuned to Princess Mononoke, which I think is something that I think.
Oh yeah, wasn't that one of his other favorite movies too?
Yes. Yeah. So I think if there's a movie that if you want to watch with your husband that's Japanese anime, that might be it because there's a lot of action in that movie, and it is like you saw it in the poster. It's literally a person with blood on their mouth. Like it can be.
I googled it and I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's not terribly violent, but there is some fight sequences and stuff like that. That might be more your speed. There are other types of anime, like a lot of anime that Zero tells me about. If you go on the Crunchyroll or something along those lines, there's romantic anime. There is high school anime.
I'd be interested in that.
Yeah.
The romantic ones.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
There's a lot of...
I mean, like, some of the fighting anime, like, I could probably watch, but not too much.
There is some that they're rough.
Yeah, like, I'm not interested in that.
I would recommend, if you really want to get to more anime, I don't think I would recommend Akira to you, even though Akira is really good, but that gets violent pretty quick. I would probably say Ghost in the Shell would probably be something you should be interested in.
Okay.
Ghost in the Shell is actually pretty good.
I said I would watch this movie again. I thought it was Spirited Away. Like, sometimes I feel like movies that I am unsure of or are kind of out of my comfort zone, like I'll watch it once and I'll be like, all right, I'm good. But like, I would watch this again.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was really, even just to like really take it in more than what I did. But Yeah, it was a good movie. I give it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, this is definitely a movie that I enjoyed much more as time went on and watched it more, which is rare at times. Sometimes I watch a movie that I really like, and then I watch it again and go, what the hell was I thinking?
Right. Like, yeah. And again, it depends on what mood you're in, too. But, like, when I kept a very open mind, because, again, it's not something I typically watch, so.
Okay. So 4 stars for you?
Yeah.
This is one of my rare 5-star movies. This is an achievement in animation and storytelling. It is an amazing movie to experience for the first time, which I'm very jealous of you right now, because I would love to watch this for the first time again. And there's so many things that this movie does right that other movies don't even attempt. And the fact that it is also paired with absolutely gorgeous animation, it's really hard to do that with live action actors. It is another thing entirely to do it with animation that looks as striking as it does. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like I have a list on Letterboxd of my 100 favorite films. It's number 5. Like, it is there with Fargo and The Godfather Part 2. Like, it's up there. It is, to me, an amazing movie. 5 stars. I absolutely adore this, and I am so glad that you like this, considering I just butchered Elizabethtown on Tuesday.
I still haven't listened to it because I don't want to accept it. I don't want to accept my friend's nasty review of one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I did apologize a bunch of times to you during it, because I was like...
All right, maybe I'll watch it today as I'm folding laundry.
I was on there like, Long, I'm going to lose a friend after this. I can already tell. And she's like...
You told me that Long thought it was cute. I was like, I love him already.
Yeah. I mean, he had problems with it too, but he was like, oh, it's cute. I'm like,
It's not for everybody. Like, I think I just have more of an emotional connection to it for other reasons.
Yeah.
I thought it was adorable, and I really love that movie, but that's me.
All right, so 5 stars from me for Spirited Away, 4 stars for Kim. Let's bump those numbers up. Watch that again, huh?
Yeah, but I have one more question for you. So how many awards does this movie win? Like a ton, right? Like I was looking online.
Oh, it won a bunch of stuff in Japan. Yeah. I think it won a bunch of special awards in America during the festival circuit, but let me double check. It did win Best Animated... It did win... Let me use correct English. It did win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, and it's still the only animated feature to win that is not in the English language.
In the US. Yeah.
So it won that. It's also number 32 on the top 250 of IMDb, which don't even pay attention to the top IMDb. I can't stand that fucking list. Okay.
Wow, there's like so many on here, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking, and I'm like, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It actually won a lot of Best Picture winners at certain festivals and association.
31 awards.
Mm-hmm. And another rarity, it was nominated for Best Film Not in the Foreign Language at the BAFTAs. That is especially rare for an animated film.
Disney awarded it Best Motion Picture, 2003.
Were you seeing
Satellite Award.
Disney?
Yeah.
Let me look at that real quick.
Best Satellite Award for Best Motion Picture, Animated or Mixed Media, 2003.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking you said Disney Award. I was like, yeah, well, Disney produced Disney. It was the one that was what do you call it?
We did amazing.
Yeah, it won a Young Artist Award. What? Hayao Miyazaki's in his 70s when he did, or his 60s. Like, wait a minute. He ain't a young artist, and he was doing that for a while. It became something of a big deal when it came out, like with like film buffs like me, or like film lovers like me. It was a big deal.
Oh, look at that. Boston Society of Film Critics Award.
Yeah.
Special commendation.
Yeah, it won a lot of special commendations. Like
Boston.
They wanted to basically, like a lot of festivals and a lot of film critics circles, they wanted to award it something because of not only because of what it was just how gorgeously animated it was, but that it finally got released here. Like I mentioned Akira and Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Those movies got released in theaters at like 2 or 3 theaters. Literally.
Oh,
like
wow.
Chicago, LA, New York. and the fact that they made money was a big deal. Like from just those places. When they did Spirited Away, it got a wider release, but it also had the backing of Disney, which is a big deal. A big deal.
Yeah, because Disney's a huge name too.
Right, and it's synonymous for it's synonymous for animation, and right. To a lot of people, it was like, wait a minute, Disney is help financing a movie that isn't a Disney movie.
Right.
What? And
like, what were they thinking? Like, and then people watch it, and like, oh wow.
It was a big deal when it came out. So
yeah, it's a lot of awards.
Oh yeah, definitely.